Hey everybody, Roman Versus here with the Squashfest podcast and my co-host.
Biracial Irish car bomb. Du boy harm.
They get more elaborate.
I needed something. Coffee, whiskey, beer. Biracial Irish car bomb. My grandmother's Irish and German, all right? It makes sense.
I think what I'm gonna do for one of our TikToks, I'm gonna just make a montage
A clip of all of them.
of all of them. We just gotta do a few more, and boom, we're just gonna have like 2 minutes straight of just you going off in different names. Uh, um, so today we're gonna be going over last night's SmackDown, which was a pretty good show. Last week we were complaining that it was very lackluster for the most part, and this week I feel like they heard that, and they said, "Nah, we gotta put in more effort on SmackDown," and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, SmackDown last night was actually pretty fun. All the matches were long and competitive. We'll get into that in a little while. That'd be a fun conversation.
They were not all
Um,
competitive.
they were, but all the matches were competitive. Um, uh, book ended started it yeah book ended by Punk and Heyman. That was the through line throughout the course of the show to get to the very end of what is the favor that Punk's been wanting. And I thought they solidified and made me care more about what's going to happen at Mania, because this build has felt very mediocre for the most part, but the last two weeks they've really made me care more about this main event segment. We had a really good debut from one debuting Rey Fenix.
No, we didn't.
We did. You're a hater. We had a really good, and I'll get into the
I'm not a
reasons
hater.
why.
I'm not a hater. If anything, I'm the opposite of a hater. But
I'll
continue.
get into the reasons why Nathan Frazier was a perfect choice for Rey Fenix when we get to that match. Actually, it's the second segment, so it'll be pretty soon. But SmackDown this week was actually really fun. For the most part, SmackDown, since they went to 3 hours in January, have felt like a drag. I feel like they've been spinning their wheels, but the show was nicely paced out last night. It was actually pretty solid.
All right, so let's just get into it.
All right, so we kick off the show emanating from Chicago, Illinois. And every time WWE's been in Chicago, that crowd is always crazy hot for CM Punk, his hometown, second city savior, all that good nonsense that he talks about. Um, Punk gets into the ring, and he gets chants of CM Punk. He gets a chant for his ugly dog. He, I'm sorry. Have you seen that dog? Larry looks like a gremlin.
I've never seen his dog.
You need to look up Larry. It looks like a gremlin. It's hideous looking. He gets a chant for Larry. He basically gets always has that crowd feeding out of the palm of his hand, and he gets interrupted by Paul Heyman, his best friend, talking, and Paul Heyman basically says, "I need to know what the favor is. It's been eating at me. It's been all these things, and Roman won't even really talk to me because of everything that's going on. I need to know what this favor is." And they go 20 minutes back and forth, and Punk literally just tells them at the end, "Is Roman going to be here?" He said he's going to be here later. He hasn't arrived yet. All right, so later when Roman gets into this ring, I will let you all know what the favor is. So at that point, we know it's going to be the main event segment later on in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I love their dynamic. I've always loved Heyman and Punk's dynamic. They're both really great on the mic. They're both really good actors. They're both really good talkers. And it also is it's two guys in professional wrestling that aren't the epitome of what you think of a wrestler. Punk has never been the muscular guy, right?
Yeah.
He's never been the Vince McMahon type. He's a guy who had to fight for everything he had. And then you have the founder of ECW who was bouncing checks to all of his talent and still for some reason got them to come to their shows. so,
Facts.
so
And and still speak of him in high regard.
100%. You ever listen to Tommy Dreamer, Taz, and Bully Ray? They always talk about how much they love Paul Heyman, even though Tommy Dreamer kind of bankrupted his parents by funding ECW. That's another topic for another day. But I always love their dynamic, and they always play off each other really well. So we got that. Um, and then, so first match of the night, I thought it was a really great match. We got two-time NXT and current tag team champion, former NXT United Kingdom Heritage Cup champion, trained by Seth Rollins, Nathan Frazier in his SmackDown debut match against WWE debuting superstar Rey Fenix in a really fun, entertaining, back and forth, really high energy, really high work rate match. And I thought it was really great. Nathan Frazier had a lot of really good hope spots. If you've never
Mhm.
seen Nathan Frazier wrestle before, I always say he's the English version of Seth Rollins. If you watch him wrestle, he moves just like Seth. A lot of his move set is the same. Um, he just blonde haired Seth Rollins. He's really great. I think he's going to be a superstar one day.
He looked really good.
Um, he looked really good. Um, Ray Phoenix also looked very good. Ray has been
No, he
one of the
didn't.
great.
No, he
Ray
didn't.
has been one of the great luchadors in wrestling for the last decade.
Agreed.
Um, he's I feel like AEW and WWE wanted to make him like a new version of Rey Mysterio, but he doesn't have that same stature. He's kind of tall for a luchador. He's kind of lanky,
Mhm.
but he's still very athletic and still fun to watch. I thought this was a great match back and forth, and it ended with Ray hitting what looked like a version of Samoa Joe's Muscle Buster into a Penta Driver. It was just an amazing match,
Mhm.
amazing show. What do you think about this match? Because I know we're gonna differ back and forth.
Again, was it entertaining? Yes, it was entertaining. Did they both put on a really good match? Absolutely. This should not have been a debuting match. They should have put him in there with somebody to job out. And now, again, I get what you're saying. However, if you're going to make it competitive and you're going to make it back and forth, I'm cool with that. But then it should be against somebody that we actually know. The
That
casual
you actually
fan,
know.
the casual fan, which is me, does not know this person. So for me, it doesn't make sense for them to be going back and forth like that.
So I disagree on this aspect. The reason you put Nathan Frazier in that match is yes, you also want to spotlight the NXT and get people to watch NXT by showing, oh, this guy's actually really good. Maybe I should become a fan of Nathan Frazier and Fraxium. You get them to watch NXT, but
Mm-hmm.
also you put him in that match because I was thinking about this before when I was driving. Nathan Frazier is the closest thing that they could have given Rey Fenix to an AEW style wrestler. That match was
Okay.
very work rate-ish. That
Okay.
match was very high flying, very fast paced. You want to get Rey Fenix accustomed to how you do things in WWE, but you need to put him in somebody who's also going to mesh well with him, going to highlight his skills.
Well,
Right?
I'll agree with that. I'll also disagree with that in the sense of yes, you want to put him in with somebody who will help him be comfortable in the ring, someone AEW style. But to say that he was the first choice, there's plenty of people that they could have gotten, including Berto, who they're going to get next week.
Next week.
But they could have done the other one, which we
I
both forget his name, but he could have
Angel
been.
Garza.
There you go. They could have had Angel Garza this week and Berto next week, and then you start the feud with him and uh,
I
what's his face?
Santos Escobar.
There you go, Santos Escobar.
Well, eventually Santos Escobar and Rey Fenix is going to be
No, that's gonna
a
happen.
crazy match. That's going to be Lucha Underground 2.0 because they were both there, and I'm pretty sure if we look up uh, Rey Fenix versus King Cuerno, we'll find the match somewhere. But that's going to be a great match. I think the match with Frazier was good because now you get the backstage segment of Berto trying to tell his patron that, hey, I can do all those same things. Let me prove myself to you, right? I think next week Berto gets squashed. I think that's what you do. I think you have Phoenix come in and you
You
have him
have to
have the
because
back.
you can't have him struggle against Berto, and then you know that he's gonna eventually have to go through the other two, and then what? He's gonna struggle with each and every single one of them. That don't make no sense.
No, like to have the competitive match be the first match, and then have him just roll through Humberto Garza, Los Garza, whatever their tag team name is now. Um, when you have him roll through those two until eventually when you till you get to Santos, and then you have that really great Santos match, that would be the route I would go with Phoenix, because then you're building him up, and you're again, we talked about this with Penta. There are still WWE fans who last night was the first time they're
They've
seeing Rey
yep,
Fenix.
yep.
They're not AEW fans.
Nope.
They're not indie wrestling fans. They're seeing Rey Fenix for the first time.
Yep.
So you have him have the competitive match. Oh, he got a win over a champion. Now maybe I should care about Rey Fenix. And in the next 2 weeks, then you have him just kill that tag team. Then you have the really competitive match against Santos. It's not going to be at Mania, and maybe at the SmackDown after Mania, but you still have that. You still have that build of Rey Fenix while still having him. You're not really squashing anybody who means anything. Like I like Los Garza, but they don't mean anything right now because they haven't built them up in the tag division.
Mm-hmm. I'll agree with that point. But that's what I'm saying. He wasn't the only choice. There were multiple choices. Now I
No,
understand what you're saying in regards to have him beat a champion and then squash the other two. That makes more sense. But last night, watching it live, I was very upset because
well,
I just
because
felt
you don't know Nathan Frazier, and I'm trying to tell you why Nathan Frazier is a big deal.
no, and I understand. I understood all that, but I'm just like, my guy is finally here. He's making his debut, and he's over here struggling half the match, getting his ass kicked. That I didn't appreciate.
There was portions of that match where it felt like Nathan Frazier had an answer for everything Phoenix was doing.
Exactly.
But that's why, like I said, you wanted that style of match to kick off his WWE debut. So that was good. It was a really good match. I really enjoyed it. He cut an English promo afterwards that was very reminiscent to the very same promo Penta cut on his first debut. I'm here. I've always wanted to be in WWE. This is my era. So on and so forth.
Yep.
Cut and paste, same thing. Eventually,
I was gonna say there was a big difference in regards that they gave Penta the mic, the first time, and he went off.
Yeah, he definitely told Phoenix, "You got like 2 minutes."
Yeah, exactly. They cut that down dramatically, and they were like, "You got to speed this up, bro. You cannot do what your brother did."
But here's the thing. I think the reason for that is Netflix. Yeah, Netflix on Raw, or Raw on Netflix has been 2.5 to 240 every week. SmackDown, even though it's broadcast on Netflix around the world, in the United States, it's still on USA.
Yeah.
So they still have a lot stricter on time constraints,
which makes sense.
They have to get it in within 3 hours. You can't go to 11:10 on SmackDown. So you have to cut those things down a little bit.
That makes sense.
So that was a really good match. So we get out of that, and we get a backstage segment with Braun Strowman arguing with Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. And basically, Solo Sikoa is telling Braun Strowman, Jacob's going to mollywop you. Jacob's going to walk through you. This is the last man standing match. You have nothing against Jacob Fatu. LA Knight shows up next to Braun Strowman, and he goes, "Why are you talking?" He basically says, "Why are you talking to these two losers? They got nothing for you. Keep your eye on the prize," and points at his LA Knight's United States Championship.
Which was really nice of him, because at the end of the day, why are you helping somebody that's coming after your belt? So the fact that he was like, focus up,
it's the baby face thing to do. The baby face would always rather face another baby face in kayfabe than face a heel.
Yeah.
So he was just like, "Hey, basically telling him I'd rather face you than Jacob Fatu, because that last man standing match last night was a number 1 contenders match for the United States Championship." It also leads into an LA Knight Tama Tonga match, which I thought it was a really competitive match. I'm happy they highlighted Tama Tonga's in-ring ability, because he's been a really great wrestler for a long time.
And they have not done anything with him for so long. Ever since Tonga Loa, right? That's his name. Ever since he got hurt, they haven't done anything with him other than the
like, he's so good. Like
he is. But
for anyone who's never watched Tama Tonga in New Japan Pro Wrestling, go watch Tama Tonga. I used to say all the time, he was like a wild man version of Roman Reigns. He would go out there. He was very good, but he would just there's a historic promo where he was at the or it was after. So New Japan does like press conferences after,
Mm.
and he's the tag team champion, and somebody left their Ring of Honor world title here there. And he picks up the title. He goes, "Ring of Honor, get this shit out of here!" And he just flings.
That's
He
messed
is
up.
he's so good. He's so funny. Yeah. So we have a match between LA Knight and Tama Tonga. Very good match. Um, when I was watching it, and as like we talk about LA Knight being a throwback to everything, like he walks like Austin, he talks like Austin, he sounds like, sometimes he talks like Ric Flair. Very rock inspired in a lot of his work in the ring. But when you're watching his matches, it definitely feels like you're watching a 1990s match.
Hmm.
Like
Sir, his
it's not
entire
what
entrance from walk down and even the way he was hitting the corners to
the
show off the
turnbuckles.
belt,
Yeah,
he literally looked like Austin. He was like walking down, like, when
hmm
Austin would hit all four.
yeah,
That's exactly what the stride that he was doing right there. Like, you can see a lot of emulation from this guy
hmm
towards a lot of the greats. I
yeah.
mean, I I guess it works for him. There's just sometimes it's just very glaring. It's like, okay, I see that you're trying here to emulate so and so.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten over everywhere he's been, whether it was in TNA when he was X Division champion and then eventually world champion in TNA.
Did he move
So,
and
and
act like that over there too?
he talked like that. I don't remember him walking and do the mannerisms the same way.
Okay.
Then he was in NWA, and then he got over there, and then eventually signed to WWE as a 40-something-year-old wrestler. He's really great. He's really fun to watch. He eventually gets the win. A lot of shenanigans. Solo Sokoa, standard heel match, trying to get referee attention,
Yep.
getting up on the ropes, trying to hit a Samoan spike. Eventually, LA Knight hits the BFT, blunt force trauma, onto Tamatanga. He gets the pinfall for the 3 count. Solid match. Just they give him 15-ish minutes, 2 segment match. Um, you really need to uh, you really need to make LA Knight look strong going into Mania because his opponent at Mania, we'll get into that a little bit, just looks like he's gonna run through everything right now in WWE. And he was a year ago now, he was in the Jey Uso spot. Like LA Knight was that guy. The pops he was getting
Yeah.
was crazy, and he cooled down a little bit over the course of the year. I don't know if it was the Logan Paul feud or the Shinsuke Nakamura feud, or
That was kind of lackluster.
yeah, that title reign just seems a little bit like you said, lackluster. He did have a little feud with AJ Styles in the middle of it too, which was pretty solid. But he's just definitely cooled down from where he was 12 to 18 months ago, and they need to build him back up because he's a star. Like he's been a star everywhere he's on.
Agreed.
All right, so
I
we got that. Mhm.
No, I was just gonna say I think it was a pretty good match. I was very entertained. And that goes for pretty much every match of the night. I was really entertained by this match. Um, the my only thing is that he struggled tonight with Tamatanga. There's no way that I'm supposed to believe that he's gonna come out on top with his opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that
Um,
like if we're building that one up to be like the guy,
mhm.
and you could barely beat this one. What makes
Yeah.
me think you're gonna beat the next one?
Correct.
That's my
But you
only
need,
issue.
yeah, but you need to build
And
him
it's
up
not
to.
it's not really an issue. It's more of it's for me it just solidifies what's about to go down.
Yeah, some guys are just good hands. He's a good hand. He's a guy. He's a good guy to have on your roster. All right, so then we get the next match, which is a number one contenders match for the uh, SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and it's DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns,
And
and these are two.
let me just say again, we're highlighting tag teams, and I'm
Yes,
loving it. I'm
yes.
loving it.
These are
Continue.
two of the best tag teams in the world. You know how much always loved Gargano and Ciampa. And if you haven't watched Gargano and Ciampa 2015 and 16 in NXT, go watch their feud. These two guys had probably the greatest feud in the history of NXT. And Motor City Machine Guns, who Corey Graves says this all the time, they're your favorite tag team's favorite tag team. They're two guys who have been around for a long time in TNA, small run in AEW, but the way they innovate offense is, if you've ever watched a Young Bucks match, if you've ever watched even sometimes the Lucha Brothers, a lot of their stuff is inspired by Motor City Machine Guns. So this match was extremely fun, a lot of back and forth. Um, I thought DIY was going to come out on top. I thought DIY was going to get this win, and we're going to get the heels DIY against the Street Profits at Mania. I thought that would have been a little bit better because Street Profits are in this weird thing where they're heel-ish, but they're not heels.
Yeah, they're like
They're kind
stuck
of
in the middle.
tweeners.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have the Motor City Machine Guns who are baby faces. But Motor City Machine Guns get the win. Like I said, a lot of fun tag team spots, a uh, lot of quick work rate things. I forget how they got the win. I think it was with their finishing move off the top, the tag team finishing move off the top rope. But it was really fun. Go out and watch this match. It was really great.
Um, Lost my train of thought for 30 seconds. I was gonna say I'm thinking, but that's probably when you think about who they're going up against, right?
Mm.
Angelo Dawkins and why am I forgetting his name? How would I remember
Montez
Angelo?
Ford,
Yeah, how would I remember Dawkins' name and forget Montez? That's
Chris
crazy.
Paul, and
Usually,
Carmelo Anthony.
I always do the.
What? I say this all the time. They look like Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony.
You have never told me that. I have never
I
heard you say
swear
that.
I've heard that said this. You think
I've
about them.
never heard you tell me that, and that's absolutely insane.
They look just like them, bro.
um, but yeah, when you're thinking, don't get me wrong, DIY is amazing, but when you're thinking about what you were talking about, that innovation of moveset and so on and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
and then the sheer athleticism that you get from the Street Profits, that's gonna be a banger.
It's going to be a great match.
And that's why you make that decision and you pull the trigger on those two winning the match as opposed to DIY.
And I also think, like, Gargano and Ciampa have already been established as Triple H guys. Those are guys he loves going back to his NXT days. This is a way to get the Motor City Machine Guns, who I made the joke last night we were watching it. Their combined age, and I don't think it's this high.
It's
their
like
combined
92,
age
you said.
is like 92 years old between the two of them. It's like 80 something. They're like 42 and 43 or something like that. They're in their twilight of their careers. And this is how you can get the WWE fan behind them. Put them on Mania, because you don't know how many Manias they're going to be on. They may have this year, they may have next year, and they may be retired after. They may become agents after. They may become trainers. I think about guys like Bobby Roode, who had a Mania match, and then he got hurt, and now he's got to be a backstage producer because he got to WWE so late in his career.
Yeah.
So this is a great way to have the casual WWE fan who doesn't know these guys watch this match, watch how they work, because just having Alex Shelley and Montez Ford in the ring together is gonna be amazing. Those two guys, their athleticism is incredible. Right? So before we get to the next match, which I don't think we had a teaser for the next superstar who's making their debut on SmackDown, or I guess you would call it their re-debut. Aleister Black. They didn't actually say it was Aleister Black, but it's Aleister Black. Alice is going to be coming back to SmackDown probably right after Mania. I'm super excited for this. Hopefully they do something with him. He left in WWE before Vince was gone. He left to AEW before Vince was gone, and I felt like they never truly pulled the trigger on what that character could be under Vince. His presentation in NXT was amazing. Triple H knew how to get that guy over. His match against Gargano, his matches against Andrade. He's a legit, and I know this may turn some fans off, but he's legitimately religious. He's a Satanist. And he's explained why he believes in Satanism, not that he just believes Satanism is a weird thing. But when you watch him, the tattoos, the gimmick, the music that he comes out with, it's all inspired by that hard rock.
Mm-hmm. Aesthetic. Yeah.
English style because he is from Wales, I think. But he's an amazing athlete. I just hope they do something very well with him because his last WWE appearance, he showed up, hit Biggie with a kick. That's how long we're going back. Biggie was still wrestling. He hit
Mm-hmm.
Biggie with a kick, and then was just written off of TV. He never showed up again.
Mm.
So he started a feud and then just leaves. He was like, so there's the Vince McMahon era, man. Like, so I'm super excited for him to come back.
My only
What do you
thing.
think about Aleister Black?
My only thing is that I agree with everything you said. The only issue is I can see him being the next Wyatt Six.
I don't want him leading a faction. We
I
just
didn't
need that in
say I
AEW,
didn't say him being in the faction. I said being the next Wyatt Six,
where you
where
start something and
where
you
you
just drop
start
it.
something and then you just don't know what you're doing with it, and then it just fades to the back, because that's exactly what happened to them.
Well, yeah.
Where they been?
Well, they came off of TV because Bo Dallas got hurt on a live show, so he's been recovering, and then they just took the rest of them off TV. Joe Gacy actually went on his Twitter a couple days ago and released a trailer for, I guess, their return, for, because Bo Dallas is coming back from injury. And I think they were really playing the waiting game for Alexa to come back. She came back. She was on like 3 shows, and then she had to leave again. I don't. Internet rumors say that her daughter's sick, so she asked for time off,
Mm-hmm.
even though she just got back.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I think they were waiting for a couple different reasons to really pull the trigger for the Wyatt Six. And I talked to you about this when they first announced them. They can still do it. A really good opportunity for the Wyatts if you're going to explore the grief and mental health aspect of that group. Not make them supernatural, but make them as a group of people
Mm-hmm.
who are so hurt by the loss of their friend and brother that the only way that they can heal
Mm-hmm.
is through hurting other people who they feel are not taking advantage of the opportunities that they have. If you tell that story and let Bo really tell that story, I think it can be compelling and something that's never done in professional wrestling. But
Which is,
there,
it all sounds great, but again, that's all speculation. That's all
yeah,
what we would want to see. My issue is that they haven't done anything with them. And
yeah,
regardless of the reasonings that one person's hurt, then the other person's out for a little bit, whatever the reasons may be, is we keep
yeah,
stopping, and never actually getting anything off of the ground. And so that's my concern with Aleister Black, is that he's going
mhm.
to come in and we're going to do the same exact thing where we're stopping, because we don't know what to do with the character.
Yeah.
If they
My
can.
concern
Mm-hmm.
with him and with returning Rusev as well eventually was this is a different WWE that they left years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot more top end talent than they had a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
McIntyre has elevated to the main event. Roman came back in the time frame that Alistair was gone. You have Punk, you have Rollins, you have all these top level guys, and
And you're
you
pushing
have
so many new guys
you're
too.
pushing so many new guys. We're going to talk about him a little bit. You've got Jacob Fatu, who you need to push
Mm-hmm.
up the card as well. Like, so where are you going to find not only TV time for some of these guys, but actual stories for them?
Yeah.
That's good. Where's their spot?
and
Like,
they're and
that's
they're
my concern.
and they're automatically main roster. It's not like either one of those
No,
guys is going to be pushed back down to NXT. That's not a thing.
no,
So
absolutely not.
they got to figure something out on the main roster, but
Hmm.
we'll see how that goes.
After the Alistair Black tease, we get in what, in my opinion, may be the worst promo segment
Mm.
since Bailey This Is Your Life. And if you haven't seen Bailey This Is Your Life with Alexa Bliss, please go watch it. It is
Okay,
hilarious.
I have not seen that.
They play on Rock This Is Your Life from years ago, and
I
they try to
remember
redo
with
it
Mick Foley.
with Mick Foley, but the Bailey Alexa one is just so horrendously bad.
Okay.
It's hilarious. Um, Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair have a face to face,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 weeks ago they had a split screen, which was terrible.
Yep.
Last week they kind of did Tiffany some justice by having her do an interview in the back and telling her why she wanted to, why her motivation was Charlotte Flair.
Yep.
This week, their face to face was so horrendously bad that I wanted to eat the business end of a shotgun watching
I disagree.
it. So they get out to the ring, and I said this when I saw them. First of all, they're both wearing similar clothes. They look like a tag team in the ring. They look they look like two women who should be going out and looking for dudes at the bar and taking shots instead of two professional wrestlers who are fighting over
The
what might
championship.
be, I was gonna say, what might be the number one women's title in the company. Um, Charlotte starts cutting a promo. Fans hate Charlotte, and Charlotte's whole thing since she's been back is "I'm the queen," almost a Roman Reigns style thing. I'm the queen. You need to acknowledge my greatness. You need to cheer me because I am who I am.
Hmm.
Fans are booing her so loud, Dominic Mysterio level heat, that she
Hmm.
can't get her lines off.
Yep.
And while she's not able to get her lines off, the quote unquote rookie on the other side, the untrained one who's waiting for her cues to get in, is not talking.
Hmm.
It is horrendous. And Charlotte's just making fun of Tiffany for not being able to speak and not knowing what to say.
Hmm.
Um, Towards the end, and this is why I think you say you enjoyed it. Towards the end, it
Yeah.
got a little personal between those two.
It got real. They definitely went like me personally. They definitely went off script. They went off script, and then you see like Tiffany said her last little bit, and then she
Mhm.
ducked out of the ring mad quick because she knew she was crossing a line.
Yeah. Earlier in the week, Charlotte Flair had a shoot interview with some publication, and she was talking about her life
It
outside
was
of
the show
WWE.
Sherry, I believe.
Okay, I'm not familiar, but okay. Um, she was talking about her life outside of WWE and her 2 years gone, and how much of a struggle it was for her physically, mentally, and the fact that her marriage was breaking down in that time frame as well. Um, so if you don't know Charlotte Flair's history, she's been married 3 times. She was married once to another former wrestler in TNA. His name was Bram Thomas Lattimore. She was also married before she got into professional wrestling when she was in college, I believe, or right starting her early career as a physical therapist. And she was just married to Andrade for her third marriage. Her marriage, all three of them failed. She's divorced 3 times before the age of 40. So she's talking about how always compares her to her father, Ric Flair, in ring
And out.
and outside of the ring, because Ric Flair has 4 failed marriages. Um, so she was talking about how she doesn't like that.
She
So
she
as
she was actually on the show. She ended up crying.
okay,
And you could tell that it was really affecting her. And then she also said it was the fact that she was trying to keep it all hush hush, and then
mm,
it was when she won the Royal Rumble that the news came out about
the
her
news
and
came out, yeah.
Andrade.
And
Uh,
there are rumors online that we're not going to get into about why they divorced. That's somebody's personal life. They're just not going there. Um, Tiffany, I feel like once she wasn't able to hit her cues,
mhm,
she just starts talking about the interview,
mhm.
which threw Charlotte off.
Yep,
I don't think they were supposed to talk about that interview
I don't think so either.
on air. Tiffany starts saying, "At least I'm not crying,
Boo hoo, boo
boo
hooing.
hooing, boo hooing in front of somebody, talking about my real life. At least I'm not." Her last line was, "At least I don't have 3 failed relationships."
No, she said at the end you're gonna end up the same as in your personal life. You're gonna end up alone,
Okay.
and then that's when she ducked out of the ring.
And she ducked out of the ring really fast because it looked like Charlotte was about to attack her. And
And then Charlotte
Charlotte,
hits her with that's why
it, that's
Kaiser's
why
in my
Kaiser's in my DMs,
DMs.
which is Ludwig Kaiser, Tiffany's boyfriend. Um, Again, this was a horrendous promo for 90% of it. The very end of it was like, oh, they just went somewhere they weren't supposed to go.
Yep.
But this was a horrendous promo. I wanted to take shots. Like I really wanted to start drinking during this promo because they gave them 10 minutes. And even I feel like Wade Barrett, who was supposed to be consulting the promo,
Yeah.
there was a moment right before Tiffany gets out where he got between
Between
them.
the two of them. Yeah.
He puts his hand between them to make sure nothing happens.
Yeah. He's like, you guys are too close.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
I didn't think it was. Don't get me wrong, it was bad, but again, we learned a lot from that promo in the sense that Tiffany still needs a lot of work in the
mhm,
sense of she's great give her a script and that girl can perform.
mhm.
The second things get off the rails, as you said, she should have started talking. Once she saw that Charlotte couldn't speak because the crowd wasn't allowing her
Mhm.
to, she should have revved up and said a little bit more.
I also think it's not only that she's unsure of her character as a babyface.
Mm.
This is her first time in her career she's playing the face. When she was in NXT, she was the Paris Hilton gimmick. She was the heel. She knows how to play that character.
Which is
When
why
she
the
was with
personal stuff at the end came out so naturally because that's a
yeah,
heel move to
when
mention
she was
someone's personal stuff.
with Nia Jax, why it worked so well is because she was playing off of Nia Jax and she was the heel with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and she could always just play off of the vet. Her as a baby face doesn't come off natural. It just comes off as she's unsure of what to do because her character shouldn't be a baby face. She's the princess who has everything. She looks like $1 million. She's the athletic superstar.
Mm-hmm.
She should be the one that she should be Charlotte Flair. She should be the one that everyone looks at and says, "I hate Tiffany because she has everything, but I'm envious of Tiffany because she has everything."
Mm-hmm.
And have her be that baby face just doesn't come off natural to her yet.
Yeah.
It'll come eventually. She's still young. She's only been pro wrestling 3 or 4 years. She's 25 years old, and she's got all the tools to be a great. But
So,
she needs to be. She needs to get there.
so my question to you is, who needs to win this match?
I going into the feud, I said there's no way Tiffany Stratton loses this title.
Okay.
I think I'm flipping. I think Charlotte wins.
Really?
I think Charlotte wins.
That's crazy.
I think Charlotte wins because you need to tell the story of as much as people hate Charlotte Flair because they feel like Vince handed her everything, and don't get me wrong, there was that one year where her and Sasha flipped that title back about 9 times to up her championship reigns, the championship reign total. Charlotte Flair is still the greatest women's worker in the history of the business. She needs to go out there and win that championship, and then you can tell the stories of Tiffany getting it back, or eventually when Becky shows up, you can retell the Charlotte Becky story. You can do Charlotte Bailey. You can do everybody loves Zelina Vega. And I don't think Zelina is on the level of the rest of them, but you can elevate new stars to face the constant person.
Mm-hmm.
Having Tiffany have that championship, it's gonna feel the matches don't feel the same. Like Tiffany Zelina doesn't feel like Charlotte Zelina, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany Bailey, solid match, but now we're talking about Charlotte Bailey. We could talk about Charlotte Naomi later down the line because Naomi's doing great work, right? You can do Charlotte Jade down the line. Like there are matches that you don't want to leave on the table.
So the only thing I agree with everything you just said. The only thing is that I feel like you can tell all those matches without there being a belt present. Whereas with Tiffany right now, she hasn't built up enough to be something without the belt, I feel like. So that's the only
Understandable.
reason. That's the only reason I don't take the belt off her. I leave her with it for a little bit while longer, while she's also learning to cut promos. Maybe put her with someone that isn't so competitive to a point where you're trying to bury the other person, like a
Yeah,
Charlotte Flair.
yeah.
Someone in there that's gonna try to carry her a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you can still tell all those stories with Charlotte versus pretty much anybody. Charlotte Jade that we know is coming down the pipeline. You don't need a belt for that. You know what I mean? You don't need the feud with her and Becky Lynch. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's like classic
Yeah, but
WWE. You
WWE
don't need a
doesn't
belt for that.
do they don't do secondary women's feuds on the main roster.
I know, but maybe
It's
that's where we're headed.
it's legit one feud happening at a time or multi women happening fighting for the championship at one time.
I agree.
So they've done it a little bit more now that they have mid card titles for these secondary women, but you need to. I get it. I understand what you're saying. Charlotte can main event a show without having the title around her
Mm-hmm.
waist, but I think what makes Charlotte Flair is having those championships, having that actual physical title that she can parade around, adds to adds to Charlotte's legacy, and it adds to the importance of that championship because now Charlotte Flair is your champion instead of
What
Tiffany
number is
Stratton.
that?
It would be 15, I want to say.
Did they take away the NXTs or is that including
Yeah,
NXT?
no, that's they took away the NXTs because at one point it was 16, and
So what is it? It'll be 15.
I think it'll be 15 if she wins.
And what's
They
Flair?
retcon the NXT 16,
No, Rick.
16,
Oh, 16.
16.
Okay, so she got two more in here, and then they're gonna definitely have her surpass him at some point.
Yeah,
Okay, so she got three.
yeah.
Okay, I guess.
All right.
I'm just saying I wouldn't do it.
I get it. I understand your reasons sound, but I think they're gonna pull the trigger. I think Charlotte's gonna take that title. All right. So then we got our Naomi versus B-Fab match, and I'm gonna say this the nicest way possible.
Please do.
B-Fab needs to get off my TV screen. That is she's a good talker. She's a good manager. She has a presence about her. This was 5 minutes of match, and I felt like she hit the same three moves that she knows how to do consistently. She knows how to do that spinning kick in the corner. She knows how to do a neck breaker, and I don't remember much else in this match. So Naomi comes out. B-Fab comes out first. Oh, she looks great. B-Fab looks great. I'll give her that much. But Naomi comes out, and she's immediately blindsided by Jade Cargill. Still continuing this feud. Jade and Naomi are going to eventually. Now we know that they're going to have a WrestleMania match because that was one that I wasn't sure if their feud is warranted of a Mania match. I thought they would do it the night before. I thought they would do it on the Friday SmackDown before.
Okay.
I know it's a big storyline who attacked Jade for a long time, but I didn't think Jade Naomi was a Mania level match.
No, I get you.
And then
I
later,
think the only thing with me is I think we always need to remember because sometimes I feel that way about certain things, certain matches, but then I remember, oh wait, it is two nights.
yeah, and now you lose a match later. We find out that Kevin Owens, Randy Orton is not going to be on the card because of Owens is what it seems to be real life injury.
Mm-hmm.
You need to put an extra match on the card so you can slide Naomi and Jade right into that slot.
Yep.
So Naomi's blindsided. She gets attacked by Jade Cargill, and she gets 15 security guards come out. They stop Jade from beating her down too bad, and Naomi eventually gets into the ring and has her match. Here's a little wrestling trope that doesn't ever make sense.
Mm-hmm.
When heels attack the babyface,
Mm-hmm.
security always takes forever to get out there, or they're in the case of Gunther beating down Jimmy Uso the other day. Jason Jordan and Shane Helms and Pat Buck are standing outside the ring watching Gunther beat down Jimmy Uso until it got too bad and they had to stop him.
Yep.
When baby faces attack heels,
They break that up quick.
They stop it right away. They get 1-2 shots in and then they break it up. So it's a little wrestling trope that it just doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. I guess you can say Naomi B-Fab was a competitive match. B-Fab got most of the offense in because Naomi was beat down by Jade beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Naomi gets 2 or 3 moves in. She hits her new finisher, which looks like a code breaker, but like a one-legged code breaker, and she gets the win.
Yep.
Naomi gets on the mic. She calls out Jade Cargill. It's the dumbest thing in the world to do. Like you're the heel. Like you're supposed to not be the one. Like call it. The babyface calls out the heel. The heel takes the powder. The heel blindsides the babyface to get the advantage to make sure that the babyface stays
The
we want to see the babyface get their hands on the heel in the long run.
Yes,
They're doing everything backwards here.
but you have to remember that's because Naomi doesn't think she's the heel.
I get it.
Naomi
Naomi
thinks
thinks she's
she's the face. She thinks that she's doing the right thing. So she's gonna do certain things that you wouldn't normally expect. They have to flip it a little bit because that's part of her character.
yeah, she's the like I say this. I don't think I've ever said this to you. Kevin Owens to me has always been like the Deadpool of the WWE universe, and what I mean by that is
Anti-hero.
he he's the anti-hero, but he has logic in his character that
Yeah.
not other people have. Like he remembers things, he talks to the crowd, like he breaks the fourth wall sometimes. And I feel like Naomi's doing a little bit of that here. Naomi's taking that influence and be like, yes, I attacked her, but these are the reasons I attacked her, and her logic makes sense. Like you can feel bad for Naomi even though she is the heel in this situation,
Yeah.
because as much as I said when her under Vince, I hated the glow thing. As much as she's always been a boring baby face to me, you can't deny Naomi's greatness in the ring. She's always been great.
Yep.
She's been in WWE since the start of the Divas Revolution, right? She was in WWE. I think she made her debut in 2011.
Yeah.
She's been here for 14 years through generations of women's slop wrestling, women's revolution of the Four Horsewomen, through Vince leaving, having to leave because of how Vince treated her and Sasha when they were tag team champions, revitalizing her career in TNA where she had a really great feud with Jordan Grace, and coming back. And then she's like, I did all of these things. There are no women, or no, especially no women of color. She hasn't said that, but she talks about when people she's influenced.
Mm-hmm.
She's no there would be no women of color, Bianca, Jade, who would be here if it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So why am I not getting my flowers? Why am I getting overlooked by people who should be looking up to me?
Yep.
So I understand the dynamic. You can feel bad for her, and I think she's doing the greatest work of her career right now as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually interested in where this goes. I know she's not going to,
But you want her
but
to win.
I want her to win. I want her to get that WrestleMania win over Jade Cargill, because it'll do so much for her as character to get that win.
Mm-hmm.
Jade doesn't lose as much
That's
losing
true.
to Naomi.
That's true. And again, we don't have to end the feud at WrestleMania.
Yep.
She can lose. She can beat Jade, and then they can continue. And then what? SummerSlam's next.
SummerSlam's in August. It's the next big one. You
Okay.
do Backlash in April.
So there you go, and you can keep it going up until SummerSlam or Backlash, and you have her get the win back.
Or you have the rumored Evolution 2 coming in June.
Also valid, yes.
So you can have that match on Evolution.
Yeah.
Or you have Naomi win and Bianca loses at Raw at her match at Mania, and you do Bianca and Naomi. You can splinter out some way else, or you do a triple threat later at Evolution, because you can tell the story of Bianca being pissed at Jade for not calling her and giving her the heads up beforehand when she gets done with her feud. So there's ways to go, but I think it all comes down to Naomi winning at Mania.
I think so. I think that would be the better call. I'll agree with that.
All right. So we get out of that, and we get a backstage segment between Pretty Deadly and Mellow Dope Miz. And I love Pretty Deadly. I think they're hilarious. I think they're great.
You say it every time.
They're so good. They're so good because they understand their characters. They understand their flamboyant UK stars, and it's like having two wrestling Elton Johns. Like it's what it is. They're so good, and they're just having a back and forth. And I think they set up a match for next week between the two tag teams.
Yes, they did.
They did, right?
Yeah.
And Miz has the line of, I'm a two-time tag team champion. What have you guys won since getting up here?
Two-time?
I think he said 2 times.
I could have sworn he
No,
said
5 time.
no. He said like 9-time tag team champion.
It doesn't matter.
And then and then that's when they hit him with the but with how many partners?
Oh yeah, with how many partners? That's what it was. Oh no, because we were having this conversation. He's a 2-time world champion.
Yeah.
He's an 11-time Intercontinental champion. He's like a 9-time tag team champion.
Yeah.
And that's when they hit him with how many
partners. Which that creeps up on you, because who thought the Miz was that decorated? You know what I mean?
First ballot Hall of Famer.
I'm not gonna disagree.
I'm just saying, Miz is so underrated as a worker. He's first ballot Hall of Famer. Mike from the Real World. I remember watching that when he was on the Real World, and he was doing this stupid wrestling gimmick on the Real World. I'm like, this kid's a loser. But then he put himself through Tough Enough, and he didn't win Tough Enough, and then his career arc has been crazy, like getting kicked out of the locker room, main eventing WrestleMania, beating John Cena at Mania, cashing in to win the title, putting over Bobby Lashley. Like, there's so many things he has done over his career. He's had a tremendous career. And I think putting Mello with him makes sense, because you want to put him with a guy who's immediately going to give you the heel rub where people are going to hate Mello, but also you want to highlight when they're in a tag team, Mello's going to be that work rate guy. He's going to be in that ring and doing everything to carry that tag team and carry the matches, while Miz is going to be doing the heel stuff, the Weasley heel stuff. So that's good. We're gonna get that match next week, and again, highlighting tag teams. It's Pretty Deadly get the win next week.
Yep.
So that way they can have a good footing after Mania. We talked about Naomi and Jade Cargill getting their match at Mania. Before we get to the Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman last man standing match, we had Nick Aldis in the ring. He cuts a promo. He's cutting a promo, very ominous. I had known Kevin Owens had gotten hurt. They didn't say what it was online. They just said that his WrestleMania match might be in doubt. So Kevin Owens comes out, and immediately you can see his face. He's forlorn. He's upset.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with, not the segment, this is the problem with these guys who spent so much time on the indies before they get to WWE. Think about guys like Owens. Sami Zayn has missed time with back injuries. Daniel Bryan, he had to retire for years because of concussions. Nigel McGuinness had to retire early because when he was in TNA, they found out he had hepatitis C. And I'm pretty sure that's from all of the blade jobs and dirty mats he wrestled in Ring of Honor years ago. These guys have Punk. We talk about how Punk being so hurt all the time because he's older and he's spent so much time. Samoa Joe. All these guys, they wrestled such a style of wrestling before they got to WWE that their body's breaking down now. Owens has always been one of those great workers in WWE. Regardless of what you give him, he gets it over. He's always been one of my favorites. But he doesn't. I think he cut. So as soon as he got the mic, this wasn't like an Edge or Daniel Bryan retirement speech where they legitimately moved fans to tears. As soon as he got the mic, he was very about his business, because I felt like he didn't want to get super emotional about it.
Agreed.
He just got the mic and started talking. I've been doing this for years. I put my body on the line and all this stuff. I'm never going to take this for granted. For the last few months, I've had neck issues and we didn't know what it was. Well, we just found out this week that I need surgery on my neck and I'm going to be out indefinitely. He didn't, so it may be a year before we see Owens again. It may be 2 years. And Aldis said something before Owens got out there saying, a professional wrestler never knows when their career is going to be over.
Yeah.
And it would suck if we've seen the last of Kevin Owens' professional wrestling.
That would, because he's amazing. And we were just talking about it last week, that we were hoping that he would get another championship run. You know, and for this to be the end, that would really suck.
It would suck. So I'm hoping that this is only a year or so, and we'll get him back. Maybe hopefully a Rumble return next year or a Rumble 27 return, maybe 2 years from now. But it just it's it was a really somber moment on what was a really upbeat show of SmackDown.
Yeah.
So he's leaving the ring, and even us watching it, we were watching it with our friends. We didn't know if this was work or shoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know if this was real or not. Randy Orton's music hits, and
Mm-hmm.
at that moment, there was a glimmer of doubt. Maybe this is not real
Yeah.
because maybe Randy's gonna get in the ring, do the babyface thing. Another guy who's had his own issues with back and neck issues, and Owens is gonna immediately turn around and hit him with
Do
another
something.
package pile driver, another
Yeah.
pile driver,
Well,
and be a
I also thought the opposite could happen. I thought maybe Randy's gonna come out and be like on the I don't care, because he's doing the whole voices things right now. Like,
yeah,
I don't care if you have, and then attack him or whatever. And again, then we would know that it's fake. None of
yeah.
that
But
happened.
I don't think they would do that with Orton because he is the baby face, right? And if you have the the heel basically saying I need neck surgery, and the baby face comes and attacks him, we're getting a double turn. You're immediately turning Orton heel. You
I don't think
cannot be
that's
the
necessarily true.
I don't. You're not gonna be the baby face in the
He
scenario,
just
and when you are,
RKO'd the goddamn GM. That's
and
not
they
a but
loved it, but
okay, but that's not a.
you're not
He's not
gonna
getting hit with a. Oh, he's a heel now.
you're not gonna RKO the guy with the quote unquote injured and broken neck.
But at the end of the day, if he did do it, then we know it's fake, and we don't care at that point either, and it's gonna get a big pop.
I think
The
that's how you
only
turn him
reason,
heel.
the only reason you're saying that is because we know that it's real. If it wasn't real and he went in there and just RKO'd him, they'd be like, oh, da, da, da.
No, it would be Bret Hart, Stone Cold double turn territory from WrestleMania 13 when Bret was taking the steel chairs to Austin's bad knees after the match.
I, th- I,
That it would be that.
I think sometimes that's the detriment of you knowing so goddamn much history, is that you just think history's always repeating itself.
It is.
It's not.
Professional wrestling has like 5 stories, and they tell them in different ways.
I hate you. We're not.
Like,
we're not. We're not
if you
doing
ever look up
this.
if you look at the history of fiction, not even the history of wrestling, in the history of fiction, there's only 7 actual stories, and they're told in different ways. Professional wrestling has less than that. There's 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You have belt, I want belt. You took my girl, I need her back. You hit me, we were friends. We were friends. You hit me, I need to get my lick back. That's it. It's like
I hate you.
I'm big guy, you're big guy. I need to be biggest guy in the ring. Like, which
That's a
is
great
perfect
segue
into our main event match. Jacob Fatu
I
versus
hate
Braun
you so
Strowman.
much.
Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman for the #1 contendership for the United States Championship in a last man standing match. Here's my problem. They did this match on Saturday Night Main Event. They did a last monster standing match.
Mhm.
It was where Jacob Fatu hit Braun Strowman with like 9 hip thrusts into the corner and made him bleed. This was a fun match. It's always fun to watch 2 big guys just throwing each other around the ring.
Mhm.
So they get it. They get it. I thought this match was going to be 3 minutes long because as soon as they got into the ring, they were hitting spots.
Yeah.
Jacob Fatu was hitting super kicks. He hit him with a couple of those prettiest moonsault evers. And they started the 10 count like 2 minutes into this match, and Braun had to beat the 10 count up to at 9 before they hit the commercial break. Watching Braun work hurts.
Why you say that?
Watching him walk and run hurts my body. It's not even the fact that he can't work. He can work. He's a really good athlete for his size.
Which was not always the case, and you hated him at one point, but then when he came back, he like started getting very athletic and he was doing a lot more stuff.
Yes, I agree. But watching him work and run, it hurts. He's 6'8" and
He shouldn't be
370
running.
pounds.
He shouldn't be
He
running
shouldn't
like
be
that.
running. And I think it was you, or maybe might have been Tommy, who we were watching him walk to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, "Oh, he looks like he can't move anymore."
Mm-hmm.
Like it was painful. But they have a really good match. A lot of table spots, a lot of chair spots. There's this really great spot where Jacob Fatu is like sprinting around the ring, and Braun Strowman picks up a chair, and not only did he hit him in the face with a chair while Jacob was running fully at full speed, he had that chair open. Like it wasn't even flush. He had it open like in a seated position, and I'm just like, oh, that could have been really bad because that seat of that chair could have just caught Jacob Fatu right in the forehead. And um, we make the joke that Samoan foreheads are thicker than other people's foreheads and whatever.
I think
They
that's
have,
factual.
I mean, the history of Samoans. You look at the wild Samoans. You look up Rikishi before he was the dancing gimmick. It's their wrestling moves are very formulaic. It's headbutts, Samoan drops, diving headbutts, super kicks, senton splashes. Like you watch, they all have the same move set, but it was always, you know, the head shrinkers hitting somebody with a giant headbutt and knocking them out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we get really fun match. Like I said, we get Braun Strowman. We get the obligatory big man running through the timekeeper area spot. Um, we got Jacob Fatu hitting more moonsaults. The finish of the match, Jacob Fatu sets up a table in the corner, which everyone thought they forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
And after Strowman, I didn't mean to. I'm not going to bypass the superplex. They roll around the ring, I mean around the arena, and they get to like the portion of the production set where they have all of the wires and the electrical equipment. You know, you've probably seen this spot with John Cena and Randy Orton where the fireworks blows up when he drops them inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
That type of spot. So they climb up on top of that, and Braun Strowman hits a suplex from the top of one of the supply cases through three tables. And I was thinking this as we're watching this: who set this table up? Why were there plates and cups and everything on this table? I feel like they put the plates and cups on the table just so that way when they hit the table, everything went
Whoosh.
flying.
Yep.
Yeah, like I saw that. I'm just like, what is happening? Um, but it was a really gnarly spot. They showed it 4 or 5 times. Both men got a little bruised and banged up from it. You could see Braun bleeding from under his armpit. You could see a cut on the back of Jacob's.
Was it his armpit? Because I saw it like
It was like
here.
here. It was like here, like the back of his armpit, underneath the shoulder blade, somewhere over there.
Somewhere.
Yeah, and then Jacob Fatu had a really nasty gash on his back, really nasty welt. They get back into the ring, and because kid's just an athletic freak, immediately Jacob Fatu hits him with like a running shoulder block through that table he had set up earlier in the show and in the match, and Jacob uses the ropes to beat the 10 count. He gets himself up to win the match, and even commentary highlighted it. They tried to make Braun still look like a monster in that moment, even though he didn't beat the 10 count because he was trapped in the table trying to get out of it, but he couldn't get to his feet. So you're still trying to make him look like a super, super strong monster, even in loss.
It was a great match. I thought it was really good.
Right. So
I
we
mean,
get, so, yeah.
no, I was gonna say, even though to your point, they hit a lot of the same spots that they typically these two hit every time they fight each other. It was still. I think that's why they also did that table spot was because they wanted to give us something new. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But again, Saturday night main event is not canon, so don't worry about
Yes, it is.
it.
Don't start.
It's not canon.
Please stop saying that. It is.
It's not. That's why it's new. Again, think about this. Who watches Saturday night main event?
A lot of people watched it because it was on NBC.
I said, but who watches it? Ain't no
Most people.
casuals watching Saturday night main event. Stop it.
Okay.
It's not canon.
We had on the first Saturday night main event, we had a Cody Rhodes Kevin Owens match
That don't make it
for
canon.
the title.
That don't make it canon.
Okay,
He's so
if you say so.
mad.
If you said so. All right, so we're getting Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight for the United States Championship at WrestleMania,
Yep.
which we alluded to earlier.
He has to win it.
Jacob Fatu has got to walk away with this
Yep.
championship.
He has to.
You need to push this guy to the moon. He has everything. The Umaga comparisons are there because he's the wild man. Umaga was his uncle, part of the Samoan dynasty. But he's got something that even Roman doesn't have, that Jane and Jimmy doesn't have. He has, and they're all super athletic, but for his size, the way he moves, it's very Rikishi like. Rikishi was very underrated as a wrestler and very underrated as an athlete.
Rikishi's not hitting moonsaults, bro.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, pre 600-pound Yokozuna had that kind of athleticism too. Maybe he wasn't hitting moonsaults, but he was still hitting those hip thrusts in a way that a 400-pound man shouldn't have been hitting. Yokozuna was one of those rare athletes. But it's very Umaga style, everything that he does. And it's just going to be great because if he wins and, you still have Umaga's son out there wrestling on the indie scene, hopefully he shows up to WWE one day.
You're talking about Zilla?
Yeah. Zilla Fatu, yeah. You can the Bloodline saga maybe never ends. You have Solo running this, and then you have Jacob Fatu, who's going to be, we all think is going to be the next guy in this family to really carry this company. You have Zilla out there. You have Rikishi's got 2 more kids out there wrestling somewhere. Jimmy and Jay's kids are like 10 years old, so 10 years from now we may get their generation.
Stop it.
This family just spawns so much. They're repopulating the United States by themselves.
Stop it.
We're gonna get this family just will never end as far as WWE is concerned. So we get that really great match, and then we get the main event segment, which we were all looking forward to. And the question we've been asking since Survivor Series: what is the favor that CM Punk wants from Paul Heyman? And wrestling fans kind of spoiled it for themselves this week by going on Twitter, going on social media, and posting different things that Heyman has said to Punk over the years.
Yeah.
I love that they're telling long-term stories, and when I'm talking about long-term stories, this was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Where Heyman looks at Punk and says, "One day you're going to main event WrestleMania, and I'm going to be the guy walking you down the aisle to do it."
Yep.
And I had made the point to you last week that the only thing that Punk can ask Heyman for is, "You're going to be my wise man." I thought it was going to be on a permanent basis. Leave Roman and join me.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. So we get Roman eventually showing up. Roman did the thing that Roman never does. Roman came out, did not wait for pyro, did not pander to the crowd, did not put his ones up. He was about his business. He went straight to the ring.
He said, "What is going on?
What is going on?" He got the microphone, asked Chicago to acknowledge him. And I was thinking this as he was asking Chicago to acknowledge him. It would have been great if Chicago booed him instead of acknowledging him, because they are so pro-Punk town. It would have been great if they would just booed Roman. But they didn't. They acknowledged Roman. And he cuts a promo. It doesn't really matter what he says until he calls out Punk. And I knew this was coming. As soon as he called out Punk, Seth's music hit.
Well, early in the night, Seth also said he was going to be there.
Oh, he's going to be there, yeah.
Yeah.
But Seth was great in this segment, just being the troll.
Yeah.
So
even just Seth being in the corner, he's like,
oh, because he legitimately has a reason to hate both of them.
Yeah, he was just egging everything on.
So Seth gets into the ring, and he looks at Roman, and he says the same thing he's been saying, but he adds one thing in. He's been saying for weeks, I have to solve the CM Punk problem because you haven't been able to do it. But the most interesting line that I think is going to get glossed over in this entire thing is when he looked at Roman and said, "When you come out of your bubble, everything goes to shit."
Mm.
He said that to Roman, and Paul's face when he said it, Paul Heyman's face was crazy because it's very true. Roman is very much in his own world, in his own island of relevancy, in his own, having his bloodline around him. And every time he needs to do something else, it ends up biting Roman in the ass. Seth made the he made two references last night. One from Elimination Chamber and one from another one. But basically, when Seth not he didn't bring up the turn again, but he brought up two times when Seth cost Roman matches, and it was very telling. Um, and then so Punk eventually comes out, and Punk's cutting a promo, and Seth at that point is just standing in the corner, as we said, watching the two alpha dogs, the two main.
Mm-hmm.
They're all main eventers, but the two guys go back and forth, and it's very much two guys fighting over a girl in high school. It is like that's the best way I can describe this. And Punk is cutting a promo talking about years ago, Heyman, when you were fired, when you were told to go home, I thought I was going to be fired too. But you looked at me and said, "No, you're going to do this for the both of us. And when I come back, it's going to be us, and we're going to stick it up their ass."
Mm-hmm.
And so as I alluded to before, Punk, Heyman saying to Punk, "I'm going to walk you down the ramp at WrestleMania one day." Punk says to Heyman or to Roman about Heyman, "You want to know what the favor is? The favor is going to be my best friend, your wise man, is going to be in my corner at WrestleMania. He's going to be there for me and not there for you. He's not going to be rooting you on. He's going to be there for me."
Mm-hmm.
And Heyman was so great in this entire segment because he only said two lines. He said the same lines 6 or 7 times, but his inflection in saying that line was telling the story. Roman was asking him questions. He goes, "Yes, my tribal chief. Yes, my tribal chief. Yes, my tribal chief." Depending on what the question was,
Yeah.
he was changing his inflection. So when Roman hears that Paul Heyman, his wise man, is going to be in the corner of CM
Mm-hmm.
Punk, Roman laughs maniacally.
Yep.
Because again, in Roman's mind, I'm the only thing that matters. No one, no one is going to turn on me again and go with somebody else. So Roman is great. He looks at him and he goes, "Wise man, tell him no." And Paul, it felt like 5 minutes. I know it was
Mm-hmm.
probably 90 seconds, but it felt
Mm.
so long. Paul Heyman crying, tearing up, welling up because he knows what he has to do. He knows he's not going to tell his best friend and break his promise to his best friend, but he knows he's going to have to be just the next person in line
Mm-hmm.
to put a knife in the back of Roman Reigns.
And not to mention earlier in the night when he was still waiting for Roman, he told what was it? What's his name? I forget his name. The
Byron
interviewer,
Saxton.
Byron Saxton. He told him flat out. He said, "Well, whatever the favor is, the answer is yes. No
Yes.
matter what he asked me for, I'm gonna say yes."
Yeah.
So he can't say no at that point. He already said no
He already
matter
said yes.
what.
Yeah.
You know what? So he was screwed at that
Yeah.
point. And if Roman Reigns is already pissed off, and you know how he gets just based off the fact that he didn't know what the favor was. Now that he knows
Mm-hmm.
the favor, you only know it's gonna explode the man. So
Uh-huh.
it's this level of fear, while
Yeah.
also, to your point, I have to be the next person that essentially stabs him in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So it was what I love about these bloodline storylines. Like they'll like go out, they'll branch out, and then they bring it all right back in. You know what I mean?
There's nuance in everything that they do.
Yep.
Like,
It's
and
so
I said,
carefully crafted.
yeah, I've said this, and it goes back to 2014. I said this Roman Reigns' character is built upon insecurities. It
Mm-hmm.
goes back to Seth turning his back on Roman. It goes back to the destruction of the Shield. Roman's never actually turned on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he was a baby face, when he was a heel, he's never turned on anybody. It was Seth, then it was Jay, then it was Jimmy, then it was Sammy. Like he's never actually been the person to turn on anybody. He's always tried to keep the family together, and now his wise man is in his eyes
Mm-hmm.
turning on Roman to
Mm-hmm.
go back with Punk, even if for one night.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's a
another act
big
of
night though.
betrayal.
That's a
It's
big
a
night.
huge night, but it's another act of betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
So Roman looks at Heyman, and when Heyman's not saying anything, continuously getting more and more pissed off, more and more angry. He's like, "Wise man, tell him no. I'm giving you one last chance. Tell him no." And Heyman goes, and remember, all he was saying was, "Yes, my tribal chief."
Mm-hmm.
Heyman goes, "No, my
No, my
tribal
tribal chief.
chief. I
Yep.
can't do that." And Roman did something that he hasn't done. He was so enraged that he put Heyman in a corner. Like he pressed Heyman against the corner
Mm.
to yell at him. He has never done that. And that's why Punk came in to protect Paul Heyman and attack Roman Reigns. He comes in and he attacks Roman Reigns and hits him with a GTS,
Mm-hmm.
while Paul Heyman gets to ringside and is on one knee and just screaming no, because he's watching his tribal chief get beat down by his best friend. And then you have the troll in the corner just eating it all up. Like just watching everything, because everything he's saying about these two guys
Yep.
is coming to fruition.
Yep.
Seth is told no lies in this.
Yep.
He's like, "Punk, you're an egomaniac. You don't deserve to be here. You don't deserve the main event of WrestleMania." And Roman, everything that you've done is on your own making.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is why I keep stabbing you in the back, and this is why I keep doing things to you, because you keep putting yourself in these situations where it makes it easy for me to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So Seth, and then we have the stare down between Seth and Punk after Punk hits the GTS and Roman, and Seth just laughs and walks out of the ring, and that's how we go off the air. Overall, that segment was done beautifully,
Masterfully. Yep.
masterfully. It was so good. It felt while you're in the weeds of it, especially during the Punk promo,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like it was going a little long,
Mm-hmm.
but when you get the end of it, you understand what they were doing. You needed to let that moment breathe and let really feel the tension that was in that ring.
I'm just it's gonna be hard to see Roman come out by himself and then see Paul come out with CM Punk. It's just gonna be different because it's been a long time since you saw those two together.
11 years.
Yeah. How many weeks until WrestleMania? Two.
We have 2 more weeks. Yeah, because the 19th and the 20th, so we have 2 weeks.
The way they ended the show, it just makes me way more excited also for the next two SmackDowns, which is exactly what you want leading into
Yeah,
WrestleMania. You want that level of intrigue. Um, I'm excited for what they do in this match. Paul Heyman's definitely going to play a role.
yes,
100% he's going to play a role in this match. It's not just going to be him cheering from the sidelines. Something's
yeah.
going to happen.
He's going to be so entertaining in this match, because what Heyman also does very well from the manager spot is his facials and and the way he tells the story of a match with his emotions sometimes are is just amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get the Paul Heyman crying. You're gonna get Paul Heyman with his shocked hands on his face. You're gonna get all of these things. Paul is an integral part to this story. If not, he is the story. He's the main part of the story. But it's so weird to say that a guy who's not an in-ring competitor is the number one part of a story when you
The
have
focal
three
point,
now
yeah.
WrestleMania. The focal point of the story, when you have three now WrestleMania main eventers in that story. Like that's insane.
And you still want the
I want Seth to win.
Well,
I think.
not that you want him to win, but you had said imagine how crazy it would be if by the end of the
Oh,
match he walks away with Seth.
imagine if Paul turns on both of them and joins Seth Rollins. The heat Rollins would get. I would get the heat Rollins would get. You turn Paul baby, turn Paul heel really, and then you get so many stories going out of it. Like Roman and Seth have never truly had a one-on-one feud. They've had matches.
Mm-hmm.
They've had an overarching story over 11 years, but it's never truly been a multi-saga feud
Mm-hmm.
where they wrestled. And having Heyman be in that corner, it'll be akin to when Heyman turned on Brock Lesnar and joined the Big Show. Like it'll be akin to that. And then you also have Punk over here, his best friend turning on him to join the guy he really can't stand. The guy who the guy who the wanted to legit fight Punk or kayfabe fight Punk at Survivor Series 2023 when Punk returned. Right? So that feud, I'm not saying this feud needs to go longer for the three of them, but the integral part, the tendrils of this story can carry them for a long time.
Very true. I mean, it's very intriguing the prospect of that happening. I'm just not ready for it.
can you
If I'm being
imagine?
honest.
Can you imagine Seth Rollins as a
No,
heel
no,
with Paul Heyman,
no.
the two of them playing off of each other in a promo segment? Money, like it'll be amazing.
I don't know how that goes well with the that crap that he does.
Can you imagine?
That
You
fake
can have Paul
Joker.
Heyman cutting a promo, and you just have Seth Rollins cutting that laugh in the corner, just standing there. Especially now, you know what you I talked myself into it. You do the Paul Heyman turning on them.
Hmm.
You still have Roman and Punk pissed off. You eventually get to a point where Rollins is a champion with
Hmm.
Heyman.
Hmm.
You have Heyman cutting that Brock Lesnar style promo, talking about the architect, the this, the that, all the things Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah, all of these things Seth Rollins used to be, and you just have Seth Rollins smug face laughing in the corner, and then you have the Punk come back around. Maybe Punk goes off. Maybe Punk goes off TV for a couple months after Mania,
Mm.
and then you have Punk come back, and you reignite the Punk Rollins feud for the world title at SummerSlam with Heyman in the corner.
Mm.
I think that story tells itself. I think that you can do that so well.
Nobody likes that. And what do you do with Roman?
He's a part timer. He can go away again. Let him go shoot another Hobbs and Shaw movie.
I hate you. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. But Roman can. Roman would have to. Why are my lights doing that?
I don't know.
It keeps flickering. Um, yeah, no, Roman can go away for a few weeks and come back. He's a he's in an interesting part of his career because he is the part timer and he doesn't need to be in the world title scene. But in order for my idea to work, you can't have Roman around because he's just going to come around and destroy Seth Rollins every time Rollins is going for anything.
Yeah, but realistically, if this were to happen, which I don't think is very likely, if it were to happen, it's gonna be the same as before, where kind of like at WrestleMania when he lost the title, he was gone for a while. It'll
Mm-hmm.
be something like similar to that. He will be gone for a while, so you won't have to
Yeah.
worry about that. Cause every time he loses something important like that, he disappears.
Mm-hmm. He's on a super part time schedule. Like
No, yeah, which is
he
fine.
doesn't he doesn't have to show up every week.
Yep.
You have him show up once every 3 weeks, cut a promo, and leave.
Facts.
But yeah, overall, that was SmackDown. It was a very, very interesting, very good show.
Hmm.
Definitely a step up from last week.
And that was
And
a step up from the week before, so we're getting
yeah,
better.
we're getting better. I know we said we have two more SmackDowns before Mania. I think next week is going to be the SmackDown where you get the final plot points going into Mania. They usually don't do a lot of big story stuff the night before Mania. That night is usually meant for guys who aren't on the Mania card to get on the show.
Yeah.
And a lot of video packages and things
Yeah.
to really get you hyped up for the show. So I don't think two SmackDowns from now you're going to get a lot. Next week is probably going to be the week you get a lot of really big moments leading into Mania. So I'm really excited for next week's SmackDown. Like I said, we got a couple matches announced. We got Mellow Miz versus Pretty Deadly, and there was another match announced last night. I don't remember.
If you're looking at me for me to remember, that's not gonna happen.
I don't remember. There's two matches
But overall, yeah, I think it was a really good show. It was definitely enjoyable, and to your point earlier on, and we were saying it all throughout the night last night. Every match was very competitive, and we enjoyed that aspect of it. The back and forth.
except B-Fab and Naomi.
That was still competitive because BFAB was putting in that work with the
That,
three
that
moves.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Booker T style side kick in the corner.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, it's very solid card. Very good at building up a lot of these feuds. What was your main takeaway?
The Punk of it all. It
Okay.
was all about everything. Everything there was about Punk. Like I said, there was three. The Punk of it all. They ended the show really well. Um, the Phoenix. They had Phoenix come out looking really good. His presentation. You didn't see his presentation. You were away from your computer, so you didn't even see his entrance.
I didn't.
So his entrance was very similar to what they were doing with Penta on Raw. A lot of uh, pyro and a lot of lasers. They had him look really good. And the Kevin Owens thing, that again somber that we're not gonna see Kevin Owens for a while. If hopefully one day. Um, I think if his career is over, it would suck.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also see him being a great on-screen character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, no, we talk about this all the time. Nick Aldis is young enough that he can go back to wrestling. I think he's not even 40. I think he's like 39 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He can go back and wrestle. I'd love to see Kevin Owens as an on-screen GM one day. Have him come out in this KO shirt and this little bow tie, ironically, like something ridiculous. Like,
That
like
would be funny.
because he's does such great comedic work. So and he loves wrestling. He loves professional wrestling. He's truly a fan who built his way into being one of the great wrestlers of the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. So those are my takeaways. It was just a really great show all the way through.
Mine, surprisingly enough, is going to be the Charlotte Tiffany. Just because the way it ended, it makes me want to see what do you do with those two now, because putting them together in a promo has not been working.
No,
It didn't work just because Charlotte kept beating her down throughout the promos. But then now it's not working because Charlotte can't get words out
words out.
without being Dominic booed. And then Tiffany just doesn't have the wherewithal to pick up the slack or whatever.
She's not
So,
good off the cuff.
and she's not good off the cuff. So now that they've went super personal on each other, where do you go from here? Where again, you can't necessarily have them together on screen. You kind of have to
Charlotte
separate them a bit.
Charlotte just has to beat her down. You have Tiffany. You have Tiffany cutting an interview backstage next week, and Charlotte just beats her down uncomfortably. Not a Gunther level Jimmy style beat down, but Charlotte just has to beat her down because of that. How that segment ended because of those last lines. She needs to beat her down, and then that'll be the last time you see them before their Mania match.
Mm,
I think that's the way you do it because you can't, like you said, you cannot put them on screen again. This is the
yeah.
second time you've tried this where they're cutting a promo against each other and it just comes off terribly. I
Mm-hmm.
think their match will be great. I think Charlotte's one of the greatest workers in the history of women's wrestling. Tiffany is super athletic, and every time she's had a match against somebody really good, even going back to her mini feud against Becky Lynch in NXT, she's done great work. I think their match will be great, but you need to get to the match. because right now getting to the match is feeling so terribly long and such a bore.
Yeah. No, I get that. All right. So, guys, as always, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Um, we want you guys to continue to like, comment, subscribe, follow. All those things really help the channel grow. Um, our TikTok following has grown a bit. Definitely getting some traction there. Um, Thankfully, it's not going to be banned today like they thought it was. So,
I didn't say what I said last night during the stream.
huh?
I didn't say the one thing you thought would get us banned.
No, no, no. I mean, TikTok was going to be banned
Why?
because it's
I
owned
didn't
by
get the notification.
ByteDance.
you mean
The
TikTok
app,
specifically getting banned.
yes,
I
was
thought you
going
meant
to.
our TikTok was going
No,
to be
no,
banned.
no, no. You need to stop.
That's what I thought. That's how I took it. I'm just like, what did you do?
No, so luckily it's not getting banned. We got another extension, so let's
So
continue to
friendly.
grow. Yeah, let's continue to grow the channel there. Our YouTube and our Spotify are up. So yeah, thank you for everything. Thank you for the comments, the likes, and all those things, and we appreciate you guys as always. And again, we want to grow the community, and we want you each to be a part of it. Um,
Absolutely. On TikTok at Squash Fest, I think it's at the Squash Fest Pod, all one word. Um, on YouTube, if you just look up the Squash Fest podcast, you'll find it. And on Spotify, same thing. It's Squash Fest podcast.
I always put the links down below.
Do that too, but it's, I'm just saying. And if you want to, and again, you can also put our links in. You could plug your stuff. He's at J Rock the Mad Hatter on IG, and I'm at the Boy Harm. You can look us up there too. And like I said, just comment, and we'll have a communication. We'll have a communication and a dialogue. Sometime next week or the following week, not probably the following week, we'll do an a special WrestleMania prediction episode. That'll be up on TikTok and on YouTube. Be a little bit more short form. Well, as short form as you could be, talking about 14 matches, but
Facts.
but yeah, we'll have that up soon.
All right, guys. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.